Two top-tier presidential candidates turning this race for the White House on its head by putting perhaps personality over politics. Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders dominating in the polls right now and in drawing in crowds as well. Both are building on a reputation for disregarding party platforms and basically saying what's on their minds. Trump defying the GOP establishment and creating a moment of his own. Sanders, an independent socialist, isn't even a member of the Democratic Party, although he caucuses with the Democrats. Here's a taste, though, of what appears to be connecting out there.
The silent majority. It's back. And it's not silent. I think we should call it, maybe we should call it the noisy, the aggressive, the wanting to win majority.
It is not utopian or pie in the sky to say that every man, woman, and child can have health care as a right. It is not utopian to say that every American, regardless of income, will be able to get a college education.
And there you have it. Jonah Goldberg, senior editor for the National Review and Fox News contributor, joins me now. Jonah, good morning. Good to have you with us.
Martha.
You know, these two individuals have their respective parties in a panic at this point, because neither one of them is really talking much about the Democratic Party or the Republican Party or wanting to lead that party, although they seem to want that party's nomination.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big irony here, and there are some important differences between Sanders and Trump. I think, you know, Trump is much more of a nationalist. He's much more entertaining. He's much more seat of his pants. Bernie Sanders knows what he thinks. He's been a socialist for, you know, several decades now. He can talk that stuff in great specificity. I think he's a loon on the policy stuff, but it's not like he doesn't have a deeply secure set of ideological principles. I think Trump is much more of a let's go and tell the people what they want to hear kind of guy. But the great irony here is that there is this myth out there that the Republican and Democratic parties are these incredibly powerful institutions, when in fact the political parties are weaker today than they've ever been.
I think that's absolutely the point of what we're seeing play out here. And all of this discussion about people who are genuine, people who are authentic. And here's a couple of people who were watching Bernie Sanders at that huge event of, at all places, Liberty University. Here's a couple of them.
I think that he's more genuine. I think that he actually does what he believes in and says that he believes in, as opposed to just saying what he believes in.
He seems like he's much more genuine. I know this is like the running narrative right now that Hillary's sort of secretive, and I do see a little bit of that.
What do you think about that, Jonah?
Yeah, look, I mean, it tells you something about what's going on the Democratic side, that a 70-something Jewish guy from Vermont with a Brooklyn accent who's a socialist is putting the fear of God into Hillary Clinton, who is supposed to be the most inevitable frontrunner in human history. You know, this is something that's overlooked, you know, is that there is just a general bipartisan populist disgust with what's going on in Washington, and both of these guys are tapping into it. You know, I was listening to Mark Thiessen, who's a colleague of mine at the American Enterprise Institute, earlier on the show, you know, and he was talking about, you know, lumping Carson and the outsiders all together. I do think that people are taking that analysis a bit too far, in the sense that Carson's support is very different than Donald Trump's support. What unites them is that they both that everybody just doesn't like Washington right now and doesn't like the two major parties.
Yeah, and they're looking for someone who is brash, who is willing to say it like it is. And you know, I'd go so far as to say they're looking for a New Yorker, apparently, Jonah. I mean, you listen to Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders, they both have really thick New York City accents, which I find just anecdotally interesting. But here's Miss Alabama in a quite interesting response during the pageant the other night, talking about Donald Trump. Listen to what she said.
I think Donald Trump is an entertainer, and I think he says what's on a lot of people's minds, but I think that the Republican Party should be absolutely terrified of all the attention that he is taking from incredible candidates like Jeb Bush and Chris Christie, who could absolutely do the job of President of the United States.
So I don't think she's pitching for a job on Donald Trump's staff anytime soon. Meg McGuffin is, you know, is she speaking the truth for the establishment and for the Republican hierarchy? Are they terrified, as she says?
Look, I think Donald Trump is scaring a lot of people. I think I'm on record as I'm not scared of Donald Trump, but I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump's. I don't think he's a principled conservative. I don't think he actually tells it like it is. I think he changes his positions a lot. But he is putting a lot of fear into the Republican establishment and the Republican Party, which I do not speak for, in part because I think there are a lot of people who think that he is an entertainer. I'm with Ms. Alabama on this. I think he's much more of an entertainer than a serious politician or a serious thinker about public policy. But the mood that people are in, they're like, why not take a flyer on this guy when the Republican Party has broken so many promises and has screwed things up for so long?
Fascinating. Jonah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Roll Tide.
There's that from Miss Alabama.